Hello, and welcome to Trans Truth, the podcast dedicated to dispelling myths, fear, and ignorance about transgender people. Along the way, we'll be sharing items of interest to the transgender community, from political and news events to health, fashion, and beauty. And now, let's have a look at some news items that should be of interest to our listeners. On Sunday, June 18, CNN published a story about how early access to hormone therapy can be a key tool in improving the mental health of transgender people. Research presented Sunday at the annual meeting of the Endocrine Society by a team of scientists at the University of Melbourne found that reducing the waiting period for gender-affirming testosterone therapy also lowered psychological distress, called gender dysphoria, among transgender adults. While this is probably no surprise to anyone who knows anything about gender dysphoria, we here at Trans Truth should note that the study is undergoing peer review and has not yet been published. The researchers also found a clinically significant decrease in depression, with over a 50% reduction in suicidality among study participants who didn't have to wait to start hormone therapy. So, if evidence-based gender-affirming care is beneficial, what are the Republicans who claim that their anti-health care laws are protecting kids actually protecting kids from? In what we must say is a refreshing surprise, Forbes magazine has published a story titled "Workplace Strategies for Transgender Inclusion." Yes, really, that Forbes magazine. The article notes that there are now 22 times as many employers who offer transgender inclusive health insurance compared to 2009, and goes on to call that incredible progress, adding that there's still more to be done, especially in light of a wave of anti-trans legislation. In 2023, state legislatures introduced more than 491 anti-LGBTQ+ bills. These actions are triggering a mental health crisis for LGBTQ children, teens, and young adults. Nearly 1 in 3 LGBTQ+ young people reported poor mental health most of the time or always due to these anti-LGBTQ policies and legislation. Worse, more than 41% said they seriously considered suicide in the past year, including half of transgender and non-binary young people. For people with multiple marginalized identities, the impacts are even worse. 1 in 4 Black, transgender, and non-binary young people reported a suicide attempt in the past year. Again, yes, we are talking about that Forbes magazine. Newsweek reports that U.S. District Court Judge James Patrick Hanlon issued a partial preliminary injunction against a new Indiana law that would prohibit the ability of medical professionals to provide gender-affirming care for minors diagnosed with gender dysphoria. I think we're starting to see a trend here. And finally, a federal judge has struck down Arkansas's ban on gender-affirming care for children as unconstitutional. The law was the first of many passed in red states in recent years as part of a nationwide strategy to demonize evidence-based gender-affirming care for minors. U.S. District Court Judge Jay Moody has issued a permanent injunction against the Arkansas law, which would have prohibited doctors from providing gender-affirming hormone treatment, puberty blockers, or surgery to anyone under 18. Moody had previously issued a temporary injunction against enforcing the law in 2021. Said Moody in a very strongly worded decision, "Rather than protecting children or safeguarding medical ethics, the evidence showed that the prohibited medical care improves the mental health and well-being of patients and that by prohibiting it, the state undermined the interest it claims to be advancing. We'll be right back after a brief message from our sponsor. Hello again, and welcome back to Trans Truth. I am your host, Kelly, she, her, hers, and I am joined, as almost always, by Jeri Ann.
My pronouns are also she, her, hers.
Okay, and joining us today is Gen Pena, one of the movers and shakers behind Veterans for Equality. Jen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, thank you for having me, y'all. Pronouns are he, they. Again, my name is Gen Pena, and happy to be with you. Happy to be here with y'all today.
Well, we are glad to have you here. Let's go ahead and just. Well, I'm gonna give us a little background. I was not aware of Veterans for Equality until I went to an activity at the state capitol in Austin. Several weeks ago. That was the All In for Equality event. And there I learned that the Veterans for Equality would be providing overwatch for us, which was cool. You know, I saw people, in the background, supposedly there to run interference for us, protecting us from any counter protesters. It was very gratifying to see. And as I learned more about Veterans for Equality, I was impressed. And the first thing that jumped out at me was the organization's logo, including the words, "I swore an oath to fight enemies, foreign and domestic." Now, I'm a veteran. I served probably a few years before you, Jen, but tell us what those words mean to you and to any veteran.
Oh man, well those words they are near and dear to my heart. I'm a soldier coming from a long line of military members. When I was younger, I've always wanted a pair of dog tags of my own. I tried to steal my dad's, and he was like, "Oh no, you got to go get your own."
That's cool.
So I went out and did that. We swore an oath to defend enemies, to defend foreign and domestic. It really does mean a lot to me. We fought our wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Korea, all that. And right now I feel like we're trying to fight a war here in the United States for LGBT rights, immigrants, women's rights. There's just a lot going on right now. So wholeheartedly, those words ring true to me and true to a lot of other veterans.
So you're a veteran of multiple campaigns offshore, it sounds like.
I've never actually deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq like some of my other brothers and sisters in arms, but I did do a 3-year tour in Korea, which in itself was pretty intense, and I did serve during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, so that was another. Oh
God, yeah. What was your MOS?
92 Golf. I am a cook through and through.
91 Bravo here, medical specialist.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
In fact, you're in the San Antonio area?
We're actually in the Austin area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did my tour at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio.
Nice.
So, you're not a pilot by any chance, are you?
No.
We're safe.
Yeah.
Jeri Ann gets kind of testy when I talk to other pilots and leave her out of the conversation.
Well, hey, I'm Jefferson High School, class of '69. Y'all were identifying your background, so.
Was there, getting back to Veterans for Equality, was there a specific incident or set of incidents that led you to taking on this mission?
It's all started last year when I think when everything really started happening with trans rights and protect trans kids and all that, that all went down. And there was this one rally at the Capitol. And at that point, it was already leading to, there's already starting to be hate crimes that were starting to skyrocket and all that. And I was just watching the news helplessly, looking at Facebook, you know, all the socials. And I just got to the point where I was like, man, what the heck am I doing? Like, I'm a veteran. I have certain skills. I should be out doing something. Like, I can't just sit back and watch people's rights get taken away for all the times that we fought for those rights. You know, we've had battle buddies that have lost their lives specifically so people can have these rights and be who they are and who they want to be, you know. And here I am, I'm seeing these people getting stripped away. And it was the Protect Trans Kids rally at the Capitol. My brother and I showed up in combat boots, our long off-color green military socks, and a couple of poster boards. And it just went from there, and we haven't stopped since.
That is a wonderful story. That Protect Trans Kids, what year was that?
I want to say that was in, 2022 or the end of 2021.
Okay, yeah, it's the event I'm thinking about. I mentioned that your group was providing Overwatch for us for the All In for Equality Day. You've done Overwatch for a lot of different events, still doing that on a regular basis. Let's define Overwatch for people that aren't familiar with the military definition of the term, and then how you adapt that to what you do as Overwatch for events like we were just talking about.
Sure. So Overwatch is basically what we do in the military when we're on when we have missions that we have to go to. We just pretty much scan the perimeters, do recons, and overwatch a certain area or a target. And doing that now as what we do now with Veterans for Equality, it's kind of the same thing, but a lot less tactical. We are there in our rainbow gear, our rainbow socks, our rainbow shirts, and we pretty much do the same thing. Just make sure everybody's enjoying the event and everything is peaceful. And again, everybody has a right to freedom of speech, correct? The protesters have a right to be there. Unfortunately, sometimes, but they do. And as veterans, we understand that they have their rights. But what we try to do is make sure that they don't go and harass or any kind of music that they're playing or stuff that they're saying. We kind of drown it out so the people who are trying to enjoy the event gets to enjoy it, and they can be relaxed and feel at ease. And again, going back to what I said earlier, be who they want to be. So it's pretty much the same thing, just a little bit less tactical.
Right. So you're watching the backs for the group that's actually.
Yeah, we pretty much are. And every once in a while we get to enjoy a really cool show. But we get to meet a lot of people. And I've get to have so many awesome mom hugs and dad hugs, and got to, like I said, talk to a lot of people who are really thankful that we are there, and it just makes us, even more so wanting to continue our mission.
That's definitely a plus. Those mom hugs are great. So you've been busy. What are some of the other operations that Veterans for Equality has been involved in?
Oh, wow. Yeah, we have been extremely busy, especially with Pride season. We have been having events pretty much every weekend, sometimes 2 a day. Luckily, we have enough veterans that volunteer their time so we can kind of spread out and do more. But like this weekend, we have Taylor Pride, which is going to be a really huge event for us. And then last weekend, we did a Pride night at the San Antonio Zoo, which was a really good little relaxer for us. We kind of enjoyed the little parade and walked around and met people. But we're all over, everywhere between Amarillo to Lubbock. We recently went to Oklahoma for their Pride event. We weren't expecting protesters there, but there ended up being. So we threw on our combat boots and got to work. That was a good one.
Speaking of those missions and thinking back to the All In for Equality last March, I was on the steps looking out over the crowd. They kind of dragged me up there, but I didn't see anything going on, but I've been told that there actually was some engagement with counter protesters. Is that right?
Are we talking about the one at the Capitol or the one at...
the All In for Equality. It was March 20th, I think.
Yeah, so we have had several instances where we've had people try to be incognito, and that's one of the things that we look out for. People who try to blend in, and it's kind of hard because they'll end up wearing, rainbow stuff or, try to talk to people and be nice to them.
That just creeps me out.
Trust me, there's some of the things that we've seen. Where was it? Where we were at? Oh man, I think we were in Katy. We were telling everybody, hey, watch out for these people because we have a list of antagonizers that we follow, and sure enough, there was this person who ended up dressing, tried to be as a trans woman and had a wig on, a dress, had everything, high heels, and they were able to get inside and get some intel, and they totally spin that video way wrong, and it went pretty crazy. So it's stuff like that we look for: body posture, who are they looking at, who are they talking to, all that kind of stuff. And you just have to really have a watchful eye and to try to notice those little things, because they will get in there and they do not care what they have to do.
Well, I got to say, I'm impressed. How did you just kind of pick all this up on the job on how to read the crowd like that, or did you have specific training?
So there's things, in the military, you get these classes on what to look for, body language and stuff like that. But we do have some specific people that are specialized that in the military, and so they give us little classes on what to look for, and then slowly we work them so much we pick up on little things, and then of course we start making our files that we keep on everybody. So
all right, I'm kind of monopolizing the conversation here. Jeri Ann, do you have any questions you want to ask?
Well, I was going to ask her if she had any training in profiling. As a former school administrator, I've had lots of training that was prompted by Columbine many years ago, and but she answered my question with the military training. It's we called it profiling. I think law enforcement calls it profiling. Military may have a different term, but it's the same thing. Oh, by the way, Jen, thank you for your service.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right. It's your turn to sell it now. Tell our listeners, especially the veterans, how to get involved and what kind of opportunities Veterans for Equality has for vets who want to help with this mission.
Yeah, thank you very much. So if you have any questions on where to find us, how to get a hold of us, we are on all the social medias. Or if you don't like social media, because I know some veterans don't like to, you can find us at veteransforequality.org, and you can shoot us a message there, and we will get back to you fairly quickly. And we have really different types of jobs for all kinds of veterans, and we do utilize civilians as well. We really need everybody's help. We are very, very busy and are trying to go national very soon. So we are taking anybody who would like to help. Doesn't matter of your age. So if you're a little of an older vet, we got a job for you too. We do not discriminate whatsoever. We are also looking for donations and sponsorships at this moment. So if anybody is interested in that, they could also get a hold of us at veteransforequality.org.
Let's expand on those opportunities. You and I chatted briefly about what I might be able to do as a senior veteran. What are some of the roles that you're looking to fill?
Sure. So, for example, whenever we go to some of these prides, we have a vendor booth. We table at some of these events. But at times, we have a vendor booth and we have protesters there. What we do with our civilians or our senior veterans, I would love for them to help us out and speak on our organization and run the booths while we're out dealing with the protesters, because that for us is a huge part of how we network and how we get further down. And it also helps us have a generalized headquarters that we can all be a part of. So it's stuff like that is what we really look for, and we really need help. It's pretty much all hands on deck right now.
Jeri Ann, do you have anything else?
No, not about the activity, but more on a personal note. When you're ready, when you've exhausted the activity portion of this.
I think we're there.
Okay, good. Well, Jen, Kelly and I have known each other for quite a few years, and our lives overlap to a great extent, almost to the point of being superimposed. But our stories are totally different. My story bears very little resemblance to her story, and we recognize that every trans or non-binary person's story is unique. So, when did you get that first inkling that you were different? You mentioned as a child wanting dog tags. Was that related to identity, or can you elaborate on
that? To be honest, now that I think about it, yeah. Like I said, it was, from my knowledge, it was only the men who served. And I have always felt a part of the men in my family. I've never felt being part of the female role or wanting to stay home or any of that. I wanted to do what my dad was doing. I wanted to do what my uncles were doing. And I think that really shaped how I became and how I started off in that part of my life. And then from there, just once I got my own dog tags, it just pretty much kept going from there.
All right. Did your internal feelings cause you internal conflict because of your identity versus societal and family expectations? Did you go through any period of embarrassment or shame or anything like that? A lot of trans people do.
No, I don't think I had any shame. I've always been proud of who I was, and I've always known that I was different. I think for me, what started changing for me is even a few years back, I was going back and forth with myself to trying to figure out where I fell in this huge spectrum that we have nowadays of LGBT. Where do I fit on the gender spectrum? Mm-hmm. I think that is where I started fighting with myself a couple years ago, going back and forth. Like, am I lesbian? Am I just a masculine lesbian? Am I a little on the trans side? And for a long time, I was going back and forth, like, no, I'm not trans. I can't be trans. And it's just up until recently that I found the gender that I fit perfectly in. I identify as a demiguy, which is still under the trans umbrella. And now I am proud to say that that's what I am. And I love myself. I'm happy where I'm at. My wife is happy with me. We finally, that was the last bit of the puzzle piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so cool. And it's unique, but it's familiar at the same time. So
coming to terms was a fairly recent occurrence.
Yes. Like I said, I've always felt that I was different. I didn't feel like I was just a lesbian. You know what I mean? I felt that there was a little bit more, but I didn't know what. So, like I said, up until a couple of years ago, I finally figured out where I fell in the line.
All right, Kelly, back to you.
Yeah, you mentioned that part of your service was during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell period. My service was before even that. It was like, don't even hint. But how did that coming about change things for you? And how did the changes since Don't Ask, Don't Tell affect you?
Serving during Don't Ask, Don't Tell was very, very difficult for me because I am a very masculine person, very masculine presenting person. So, of course, Don't Ask, Don't Tell is nobody asked you, what you were, and you don't tell anybody, and everybody just, turn the other way and keep living their lives. But with people like me, and depending on my leadership, sometimes it was a little bit harder. There's times that I had to have a fake boyfriend on the line, one of my battle buddies who I really loved.
Beard.
And yes, exactly. So there was times that I had room inspections that were surprise room inspections, and I had no idea. So all my little rainbow gear got caught, and I ended up having to get counseled and all that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Luckily, my leadership during that time wasn't as bad. They were just like, "Hey, you need to put that away. You can't be having that up or anything like that." So it could have gotten a lot worse, but I still had to hide myself. And
yep. I know exactly what you mean on those surprise inspections. Never got caught, but boy, it was close sometimes.
Yeah, it was, trying to rush home from cooking and trying to run, and then there you go, Sergeant Major's right in your room, looking at your rainbow flag. I'm like, I like rainbows. So, yeah, fun times.
Oh, well, once again, Jen, thank you so much for being on here with us. We're just pleased as can be to give the organization some publicity. For our listeners, if you didn't catch the links, they will be on the episode notes for this episode. So feel free. Any last thoughts?
I just want to say, whoever's out there feeling lonely, or if there's any organizers who need help, please reach out. Do not cancel any events. And for those that don't feel like they're loved, you are loved, and we are fighting for you, and we have your backs. Love y'all. And thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Jen. You have been listening to Trans Truth, the podcast that speaks the truth about what it means to be transgender. We hope that you have found this episode to be informative and enlightening, whether you are transgender yourself, if you have a friend or loved one who is transgender, or especially if you are simply looking to understand more about the transgender experience. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us at www.transtruth.info. That's .info. This podcast is copyright 2023 Trans Truth.